Hey everyone, Connie Royal here, and I've got some news for you before you check out this video. So on June 8th, I will be hosting the 12-hour long summer mega stream. What this will be is 12 hours straight of gaming. It will be all kinds of different games. We will be playing stuff like Cards Against Humanity, Hearthstone, um, uh, just anything you can think of that I have. Plants vs. Zombies, Skullgirls, Card Hunter, Brawlhalla, all this kind of stuff we will be playing. It'll once again be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Friday, June 8th. And what I am really wanting to bring up here is donations. So, if you want to say in a future reaction that I will put on this channel, you can donate to the channel. To do so, all you need to do is to donate either to my PayPal directly or by friending me on Steam and donating a game from my wish list. Once you donate, all of that will go towards the mega stream and future live streams in general. Any games you donate will be done for stream unless for some reason they can't be. And all money you donate on PayPal will go towards getting games for the streams or other stuff for the streams and stuff. It'll all be used for the channel, let's put it that way. And to donate, you can donate any amount you want, any amount you can possibly do, and it needs to be done before Friday, June 8th. Once you donate, you can also tell me directly like what you want me to react to. It can be a movie, a series, a fan work, and I will get to it in the future. It just not necessarily positive on exactly when. But that's all I wanted to tell you guys about, so please enjoy the video. Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to another blind reaction for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 8. And today we are reacting to episode 11. And per usual, I know nothing about this going in. Well, I know one very small thing, but it's nothing really. I saw like the very first second of the video, just while loading it up and everything. I know that Rarity is apparently there, but that's pretty much all I know. I saw, it's like it played the first second of the video, I saw Rarity, stopped it, and put it back, so that's all I know. I know Rarity's in it. Nothing else. I mean, there might have been even someone else on the screen and I just didn't see. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't tell me anything, though. Rarity's been in episodes not focused around her, so... And other characters have as well. Yeah, I know nothing about this going in. I'm just gonna say right now that, I know it's not related to this one, but Steins Gate Zero reaction will most likely be coming tomorrow along with Dofus. No guarantees, but most likely. My Hero I recorded before this, whether you're watching one or the other before the other, but I don't know. But yeah, so that's recorded. This and My Hero were the priorities. I think Steins Gate will probably end up coming tomorrow. Dofus as well. Maybe Ancient Magus, I don't know. We'll see. Monday, probably nothing because it's a holiday. And in fact, I'm going to be putting up another video, but I'll mention it here as well. There will be no stream on Monday. I'm going to say that right now, because Monday is Memorial Day. And yeah, I'm just not going to be streaming on Monday. Either way, let's just get into this reaction. So when the video fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything else from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this was a fantastic episode for multiple reasons. I'll get the small things out of the way first. 1, I love the back references. Josh Haber made a lot of great back references to previous episodes. We had the Phoenixes, we had mentions of various other occurrences that have happened in the past, And it's been a long time for a lot of this stuff. Like, Pee-wee and his parents, like, we haven't seen that in, like, since it first happened, really. Well, okay. There was the episode where it first happened, which I think was season 1, and I think in season 2 or 3, they mentioned that Pee-wee had gone back to live with his family, and wasn't with Spike anymore. But it's still been a long time since then, since that was a thing. So to see Pee-wee return is great. Also to note, all the characters really did well in this. Like, none of them felt out of place. And there were a lot of characters focused on. I mean, Spike was obviously the main one. Zecora had a leading role as well. As well as Rarity, Twilight, Smolder. We even had a bit of comedy from Pinkie Pie. None of them felt out of place. I really love that Spike and Smolder specifically got to have some interaction. I don't really think they have before. And, well, not that there's been a lot of chances. And I think it was something that we wanted, because Spike and Smolder are both dragons. And specifically with something about this, with Spike growing up, with him going through the molt and gaining his wings and everything, I think it was important to have it be Smolder, instead of just having Ember come in and stuff again. Because this way, you don't need to shoehorn Ember into this. Plus, we actually get to do something new with one of the students. So far, the students have basically been there as a team. They've been this new set of characters who have been introduced as the students. And that's kind of been their role so far. In all of their appearances, they've been the students. They've been together. But this is the first one where it's really, one of them is separated. While other students were shown, Smolder's the only one who had any real role here. And her interaction with Spike, while it was only basically one small bit in this episode, was important. Not only to just have that comparison because they're both dragons, but also to really build on her a bit. I mean, granted, not a lot of big personality stuff was given to her. She mostly was the same as we've already known her to be. But it allowed us to just go more into her. Like, especially just because she grew up in the Dragonlands, unlike Spike. So having that kind of difference between them helps them both feel a little more, how do I put it? It helps them, like, come across as both equally valid in the way they were raised and everything. And I like how how they didn't judge each other for it. Like, I like how Smolder never judged Spike for being raised by ponies or anything, or not, like, knowing about this stuff. It's like she's like, I forgot exactly how it was, but were you raised by ponies your whole life or something like that? And he's like, yeah, and he's like, oh. And it's basically like, okay, and she moved on. And I like that, is she didn't judge him, and I don't know, it just feels, it feels cool to include that. We also had the Rock introduced. Now, we've had a lot of mythical creatures before, and as I mentioned during the episode, during the reaction, I really like mythical creatures. Even if I don't know a lot about them or their lore or anything, I just like seeing mythical creatures. I like learning about them. And the Rock was one that I had heard about well in the past. Like, I think I first heard about the Rock in middle school, and I don't know all the details behind it. I don't know, like, what kind of lore it's from. I don't know, like, all of its, I don't know what the lore is. All I basically knew, it was a giant eagle-like bird, basically. Yeah, we get to see it in this, and I mean, that's pretty much mostly what it ended up being in this. A giant eagle-like bird that was trying to eat, Zecora, Rarity, and Spike. Well, mostly Spike, but captured Zecora and Rarity, and Twilight was fighting it. There wasn't a lot else to it, but that's all they needed it to be, so I just feel it's cool it was included in here. But then there's the big thing, of course. Spike molted. Now, of course, I mean, this is a big thing because Spike has wings now. It's a huge development. But even on top of that, this I mentioned it during the reaction. This kind of confirms something a lot of people have been wondering about. Ever since the episode, what was it called? I don't remember what the episode was called now. You know what I'm talking about, though. The episode where Spike became super greedy and turned into a giant dragon. Oh, that's gonna bug me unless I find out what it is. Give me a second here. Secret of My Excess. That's it. And that was season 2. Ever since season 2, episode Secret of My Excess, people have been wondering, fans have been wondering, is this the only way dragons grow? Is this how they age? Do they not age except through greed? It's been debated. I've heard people say, I've heard people go with both answers. And my personal viewpoint was, well, we don't know any other way that they grow. So as of now, we have to assume that greed is how a dragon grows. Like I said, I wasn't saying that there was no other way. I'm saying as of now, we don't know any other way, so we have to assume this is their main form of growth. But we find out in this episode that's wrong. That's actually an unnatural growth for them. It is something that they can go through, and Smolder in here clearly knows about it. It's something that I guess does happen. But it's not the natural growth. The natural growth, I guess, occurs in stages, which makes sense. And the molting here is the first stage. Now, Spike is a baby dragon. He's still very young. Like, Smolder, we know, is older than him. Like, that's just obvious. Ember's older than him. Garble, we know, is older. Yeah, and Spike is still a baby dragon. He's still tiny. And we can tell that, yeah, we clearly, this has all been things that these other dragons we've known have gone through. So it makes sense that this hasn't happened until now. This is a big thing because it's Spike really moving on to the next stage of his life, really growing up. The CMC had that with season 5 with the name of that episode is now escaping me. Raiders of the Lost Mark. That's it, because I knew it was an Indiana Jones reference. But with that episode, we had the CMC growing up and becoming, going on to the next stage of their life by gaining their cutie marks. Even though some episodes, such as in this very season, have tried to go back on that growth and tried to treat them like little kids again. Still not over that. I'm not going to be over that. It just... Surf and or Turf could have been such a good episode if they treated the CMC their age. Let's move on from that, though. But yeah. This is Spike's version of that. Let's put it that way. This is Spike's version of, like, the CMC getting their cutie marks. He's moving on to the next stage of his life. I would say he's no longer a baby dragon. I'd say he's an adolescent dragon. I'm using that. I hope I'm using this term right. I don't know. I second guess so much. Adolescent, a young person in the process of developing from a child into adult. Yes, I was using that exactly right. He's going from a baby dragon to an adolescent dragon, basically. He's a child, but he's in the process of growing now. He's gained his wings, he's gone through his molting, and he's probably going to start physically growing. Now, I don't know for sure, and honestly, I doubt they're going to do that much to change him. Like, even when Twilight got her wings, it's like, she did physically get bigger, but it was very subtly done, and it wasn't super obvious. The thing is, older dragons, their designs are a lot different from baby dragons. Like, Smolder's design, clearly, a lot different from Spike's. Now, we've seen what a teenage Spike could kind of look like before with Secret of My Excess, so we already do know what he could kind of look like. But that, I don't think we're going to see it before the end of the series, to be honest. I just don't see it happening. Another thing to note with this molting is that Spike's fire breath, I guess, seemed to get more powerful. It definitely seemed a lot more powerful than before. Even after he had sprouted the wings and the molt was over, he could still use it. So I definitely think his fire breath is also grown. So it's not just the wings. He might also be a little more invulnerable than he was before. And he had some pretty high invulnerability. I mean, he's a dragon. He can survive lava. And as he mentioned, I believe it was green isn't your color. I believe it was green isn't your color. He has thick scales. So he could act as a pin cushion for Rarity's pins when designing dresses. And it doesn't bother him at all. It's wild to think about. Because that's like, I've always wondered. And I mean, I did a fan fiction a while back that just kind of ended up dropping off the face of the earth because I didn't lose interest in it. I had a hard time figuring out like how to write the next chapter and how exactly I wanted it to go. And I just never got back into it. And it's, I think, been years now. I think like it was 2016 when I last wrote it. It really sucks, but that's not the point. The point is in that fan fiction, which was like a story taking place many years later, a whole new generation. All the main six and other characters were still in it, and Spike, I made it so that he didn't grow. Like he was still the same Spike we knew, but because I thought at that point that the greed was the main form of growing, and as I said, that was because we didn't know any other way, and we had no evidence towards any other way, so we had to assume. So yeah, just, I don't know why I brought that up, but this episode really changes a lot with this series. Like, specifically for Spike as a character. I mean, not just being able to fly, not even just having fire breath too, or increased fire breath, I should say. This is him growing up. This is him, like, going on to the next stage of his life. And here's the problem. Spike has been very inconsistently written throughout the series. Sometimes he's a voice of reason, sometimes he's a bumbling idiot who causes his own problems and doesn't learn from them. Sometimes he's just ridiculously idiotic and just naive towards just things he shouldn't be. And it's because of inconsistency with the writers. They write him differently, as needed for the plot. Here's the thing. That's not acceptable anymore. I didn't think it was acceptable before. I didn't like it before. But it's not acceptable at all now. Because it's the same thing with the CMC. To treat them like little kids at this point is not acceptable anymore. Because of the change they went through. Because of them moving on to the next stage of their life through getting their cutie marks, they're not little kids anymore. They're adolescents still, but they're not kids. They're like teenagers, basically. To treat them like little kids is, honestly, in my eyes, unforgivable. And that's why I have such a problem with the episode Surf and or Turf. Because it treats the CMC like kids, and it basically tries to tell us that their cutie marks don't matter. That their growth and their moving on to the next stage of their life isn't important. It's what should define them and how they should be treated by others, how they should be able to figure things out on their own, solve their own problems. I'm still not over the fact that they did not solve the cutie mark or the cutie map problem in that episode. They did not solve the issue, and it pisses me off. And that's the thing. With Spike, that's not acceptable. They can't do that anymore. And they probably will. But it won't be acceptable when they do. Spike needs to have a consistency with his writing now. He needs to be growing in maturity. He needs to have... there's nothing wrong with having moments of stupidity. Even adults have moments of idiocy here and there, of course. A lot of times. In fact, pretty much everyone does at some point. I've had idiotic moments. Um, Everyone has. My parents have. Adults I've known throughout my entire life have. Adults I even know now, like at my church and stuff, have had idiotic moments. Everyone does. It just happens. But that you can have an idiotic moment and still be consistently written. Spike needs to be written as a consistent character now. He can't go from one episode to being a smart voice of reason with just critical thinking skills to being a bumbling idiot the next. He can make a mistake, but you can't turn him into a bumbling idiot again. If you're going to have him be really smart and a voice of reason in another episode, it does not mesh. It's too drastic of a difference in his personality and character. I mean, that's why people don't like that one episode. I can't think of any episode name. You know, the one with the Timberwolves, where Spike owes the life debt to Applejack and all, and people don't like that episode because Spike is so severely out of character compared to the rest of the writing he's been in. He's so much of a bumbling idiot. He causes his own problems. He's out of character. Like, things he normally is great at, he's terrible at, just for no other reason than to service the plot. It's just terrible writing. And it hurts his character. And like I said, before he was a baby dragon, and you could kind of excuse it because, you know, kids are like that. But now he's more of the equivalent of a young teenager, but still. At this point, yes, he's still going to make mistakes, but he's moving on to the next stage of his life. He's got to have more consistency with the writing. It's just... I'm not going to ramble on about this much longer, but I just needed to put that out there. Having inconsistency in the writing with Spike from this point forward would be a massive issue. Not just a small issue, not just even a big issue for him as a character, but a massive issue for the show. Just like it was for what they did with the CMC. Just like if they had, if they treated Twilight like she was before she became an Alicorn. If you haven't noticed, Twilight pre-Alicorn and post-Alicorn are very different. A lot of people don't notice because it was handled very subtly and it got progressive, a little more progressive over time. But the Twilight, the current day Twilight, Season 8 Twilight, and let's say Season 3 Twilight, prior to becoming an Alicorn, are very different. Very different. Yes, she still can geek out and have her worries and everything. She still makes mistakes, of course. But the character of them, the way their personality and everything is displayed is very different. And it's actually been really consistent about that. There have been a couple moments that I thought were a little ridiculous since she became an Alicorn that I felt could have been handled a little better. But for the most part, they've been really consistent with showing how much she's matured and grown. Not just with friendship, but in general. I think they need to do the same with Spike here. But again, I'm not going to ramble on this any longer. I've been going on for almost 20 minutes now on this episode. But let's be honest, this was a big episode. This was a major episode. I think it doesn't have quite as much impact, and it's not quite as major as the names of episodes are... I'm usually good at that. Raiders of the Lost Mark. It's not as impactful and big as that episode, because the CMC and their cutie marks, that was a big thing throughout the entire series, them trying to get their cutie marks, so that was a lot bigger. This, it's still big, because it's, as I mentioned before and everything, it is still Spike's a major growth for him as a character, but it's not as big because the series hasn't been leading up to this, per se. It hasn't been, like, teasing this. He hasn't been trying to get to this. There is one little, like I said, the only real bit of build up for this was Secret of My Excess, and how this built upon things we learned in that. That's really the only thing that built up to this, per se. Otherwise, it just kind of happened. I mean, I'm not saying it just straight up comes out of nowhere and it feels random. No. It feels right, and it's well done. It's just, it wasn't, like, given this super amount of build-up like the CMC were with the cutie marks. It's a different kind of thing. Either way, I love this episode, and my opinion will probably sway a little bit after multiple viewings, but yeah, I think this is one of the best of the season so far. Tell me in the comments below, though, what you thought of, I think it was called the Meltdown. Tell me your thoughts in the comment below on Spike growing up, finally, and how this will affect the future of the show, or how it could, at least, affect the future of the show. Tell me your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie Royal, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way.